If you've just received a set of blood results and felt unsure where to even start, you're in exactly the right place. In this video, we're going to walk through your hormone panel and blood count results together, step by step. No medical jargon, no alarm, just clear, honest explanations and what they mean for you. These results were drawn for a 43-year-old woman experiencing three things: palpitations, a feeling of heat in both upper arms, and some difficulty breathing at night when lying down. By the end of this video, you'll understand what's likely going on, which results matter most, and what your next steps look like. Your body runs on chemical messengers called hormones. Think of them like a conversation happening 24 hours a day between three key players: the brain, the ovaries, and the adrenal glands. Deep inside your brain, a tiny region called the hypothalamus acts like an orchestra conductor. It sends signals down to the pituitary gland, a pea-sized structure just below, which in turn sends hormone signals to the ovaries. The ovaries receive those signals and produce estrogen and progesterone in response. It's a beautifully balanced system most of the time, but around the age of 40, the number of follicles, the tiny egg-containing sacs in the ovaries, begins to fall. When the ovaries respond less readily, the brain turns up the volume. It sends a louder signal. That louder signal is measured by a hormone called FSH, follicle-stimulating hormone. Your estradiol result was 37 picograms per milliliter. Estradiol is the main form of estrogen your ovaries produce. In a woman your age who is still cycling, we'd expect this number to be higher during the middle part of the cycle, often above 100 or 150. A result of 37 tells us the ovaries are producing less estrogen than they typically would. This is one of the earliest measurable signs of the perimenopausal transition. Here's why that number matters for how you feel. Estrogen does far more than regulate your cycle. It plays a key role in stabilizing the temperature control center in the brain. When it dips, your brain can trigger sudden episodes of heat and flushing. That's what you're feeling in your upper arms. It also affects the heart's electrical activity, which helps explain the palpitations. And it influences sleep architecture, which can cause you to wake at night feeling breathless or overheated. Your LH and FSH both came back in the normal range, but look at where FSH sits. At 10.4, it's nudging the upper end of what we'd expect during the quiet phase of the cycle. This is a meaningful hint. Your pituitary is starting to work a little harder to wake up the ovaries. We want to repeat this test on day 3 of your next period to get the most accurate read, because that's when FSH is at its most informative baseline. 2 more hormones are slightly low: DHEA sulfate and free testosterone. These come primarily from your adrenal glands, 2 small structures sitting on top of your kidneys. DHEA is a precursor that the body converts into other hormones. Both decline naturally with age, but when they fall below range, they can contribute to fatigue, low energy, reduced drive, and sometimes worsening of vasomotor symptoms, the flushes and palpitations you're experiencing. Now let's look at your blood count, and there's a very clear story here. 2 of your red blood cell measurements came back below normal: MCH and MCHC. These measure the amount and concentration of hemoglobin inside each red blood cell. Hemoglobin is the iron-containing protein that carries oxygen around your body. Think of a red blood cell like a cargo ship. MCH measures how much cargo, in this case, hemoglobin, each ship is carrying. MCHC measures how densely packed that cargo is. When both are low, it tells us the red cells are being made with less iron than they need. The hemoglobin is right at the lower boundary of normal, which means your oxygen delivery system is under mild strain. Here's the missing piece. Your ferritin level hasn't been measured yet. Ferritin is your iron warehouse, the stored supply the body draws on to make new red cells. We strongly suspect ferritin is low, but we need to confirm it. Why? Because around the perimenopause transition, cycles often become irregular and heavier, losing more iron each month than the diet replaces. When iron stores fall, the body still makes red cells, but they're pale and underfilled. That's exactly what we're seeing. A mildly iron-depleted body works the heart harder to compensate, contributing to palpitations, and the reduced oxygen delivery can explain waking at night feeling short of breath. One result that stands out is your platelet count. It's elevated at 515,000, well above the normal ceiling of 337,000. Platelets are the tiny cell fragments that form clots and repair damaged blood vessels. At first glance, a high count sounds worrying, but the most common reason for this in your situation is actually reassuring. It's most likely a reaction to iron deficiency. When iron stores run low, the bone marrow, which makes all blood cells, responds by ramping up platelet production as part of a general stress response. This is called reactive thrombocytosis. It's benign, and it typically resolves on its own once the iron deficiency is treated. Your white cell count and other blood counts are completely normal, which is reassuring. That said, your doctor will want to confirm this by checking ferritin and a CRP level, which measures inflammation. If the platelet count remains elevated after iron treatment, a blood specialist, a hematologist, may be involved, but the odds strongly favor a straightforward reactive cause. Based on your results and symptoms, the picture fits what we call perimenopause, the transition phase leading up to menopause. This is not a diagnosis of menopause itself, it's the runway. Perimenopause typically begins in the early to mid-40s and can last anywhere from 2 to 10 years. During this time, estrogen levels don't just fall steadily, they fluctuate unpredictably. Some months are close to normal, others are much lower. That variability is actually why the symptoms can feel so random and confusing. A hot flush one week, nothing the next. Menopause itself is defined as 12 full months without a period. At that point, the ovaries have retired from active hormone production. Post-menopause follows for the rest of life. You're likely somewhere in the middle of the perimenopausal runway right now, and that's important because it means there are good treatment options available. Menopausal hormone therapy, sometimes called MHT or HRT, is the most effective treatment for vasomotor symptoms like yours. It works by restoring a stable background level of estrogen, effectively reducing the erratic swings that drive the flushes, palpitations, and sleep disruption. It is safe for the vast majority of healthy women under 60 when prescribed appropriately. Here is some genuinely good news. Your comprehensive metabolic panel, which checks your kidneys, liver, electrolytes, and blood sugar, is completely normal across the board. Kidney function is excellent. Liver enzymes are normal. Blood glucose is fine. This is an important baseline, and it's a reassuring one. One test that hasn't been ordered yet is a thyroid panel. The thyroid gland is the master regulator of your metabolism and energy, and an overactive thyroid, called hyperthyroidism, can cause palpitations, heat intolerance, and sleep disturbance that look almost identical to perimenopausal symptoms. It's important to check TSH and free T4 to rule this in or out. This isn't a cause for alarm, it's just good detective work. So where does this leave you? Here are the clear next steps in order of priority. First, ferritin, serum iron, TIBC, and transferrin saturation. These 4 tests together will tell us definitively whether iron deficiency is driving your abnormal blood count and elevated platelets. If ferritin is low, oral iron supplementation is straightforward and effective. Second, a day 3 FSH, drawn on day 2, 3, or 4 of your next period, together with a day 3 estradiol. This gives us the most accurate hormonal baseline to formally confirm where you are in the perimenopausal transition. Third, a thyroid panel, TSH and free T4, to exclude thyroid disease as a contributor to your symptoms. Fourth, CRP, a simple inflammation marker, alongside the iron studies, to help interpret the platelet elevation. And fifth, a conversation with your clinician about menopausal hormone therapy options, which can be started even before periods have stopped completely, and which may significantly improve your quality of life. Your results are telling a consistent and understandable story. Your body is transitioning, and doing so while managing mild iron depletion at the same time. Neither of these things is dangerous, and both are very treatable. The symptoms you've been experiencing are real, they are explained, and there is a clear path forward. Here's something we keep hearing as we talk to people about this stage of life. I can't imagine going through years of these symptoms. I've had to ask myself if I'm still mentally stable. If you felt that, you are not imagining it, and you are not alone. The numbers we just walked through explain your body, but they don't fully explain your mind, and that's the part almost nobody talks about. In our next episode, we're going deep into the part of perimenopause and menopause that rarely gets airtime: the mental health impact, mood changes, anxiety, brain fog, and that unsettling feeling of not recognizing your own mind. We'll explain what's actually happening in your brain chemistry during this transition, why it can last anywhere from 2 to 10 years, and, most importantly, how to know the difference between a hormonal shift and something that needs more support. If you've ever quietly wondered whether you're still yourself, that episode is for you. Please bring any questions from this video to your next appointment. You deserve to understand what's happening in your body, and your care team is there to help you navigate it. This is MedExplained, from confusion to clarity.